I'm Peter Arnett. In March of 1997, I was blindfolded and led to Osama bin Laden's secret mountain hideaway in Afghanistan for an interview. Now Osama bin Laden is world famous. And as I prepare to cross the fabled Khyber Pass from Pakistan, I know that he's there still, watching, waiting. At the back of my mind, the hope that I'll get that call in the middle of the night, summoning me to once again interview the world's most wanted man. Day one of our 20-day journey begins in Pakistan. Chip Gerbert is my cameraman.
I almost got a full take.
And Chris Cobb-Smith, security.
We have a local guide with us as well who we picked up from that unit.
We're entering a war zone. Allied forces are still bombing, and Osama and the Taliban are on the run.
Cleaning off the window so I get a clear shot. Yeah, good.
For me, it's a return visit. I've been here 10 times before. What's happening with this guy?
They're arguing about me sitting in the front, actually.
But this time, I don't know what Osama bin Laden's alliance with the Taliban has done to this country that has now paid a terrible price for embracing him. Uncertainty lies on the road ahead of us. Unknown to us are the feelings of the people, Osama bin Laden supporters or liberated locals eager to embrace Westerners. Back on the road again. Back on the road again. Our team did arrive last night after a 2-day flight from New York City.
Now we are going to, this here. It's the border post between the tribal areas and the settled areas.
Right.
No. Okay.
No picture. They don't like the border post photograph.
Right.
Yeah, really? Yeah. They would have fired at you if he said...
Oh, okay, yeah, I heard that.
I don't mind firing at you, but a bullet would probably miss you and hit me.
Yeah, let me know a little sooner.
On the other hand, it may not miss you, so don't presume if they shoot at you it's going to hit me, Chip. Osama bin Laden and the Taliban made snug bedfellows. United in extreme and fundamental views of Islam, they forbade, among a list of other things, any photography, paintings, and sculpture. Although that didn't stop Osama from using the media for his own purposes.
I'm not quite sure what the difference is between shoot and not shoot, is there?
We don't want them throwing rocks at us, you know. They can do it.
I know.
In fact, around here, they've banned photographs from whole areas. There's a whole section of the Northwest. If they catch you take any kind of picture, they'll burn your house down and fine you thousands of rupees and drive you and can whip you. You know, it's really draconian. In only 20 days, we'll travel hundreds of miles, talking to local Afghans. Osama bin Laden and the Taliban have terrorized the people and destroyed whole villages to impose their rule. A brutal and deadly regime. And it still has supporters scattered around.
Out towards that.
There we are. That's Afghanistan, yeah.
That's where you have that behind you, right?
Pakistani border.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I want to film one thing over here where it says no foreigners beyond this point.
Chip is a very experienced cameraman. I worked with him in my CNN days in East Beirut in the early 80s. I'm here at the fabled Khyber Pass, standing in Afghanistan, standing in Pakistan. I think there's a place up here. I think the best shot is up here.
How much?
This 200 rupee, this collection souvenir.
What kind of money is it? Afghanistan money?
Yes. This 10,000 rupee Kabul bank fixture.
Oh,
1,000 Mazar Sharif. 100 this Tora Bora, 50, 20, 10.
Perfect light and a perfect place in the world.
So,
the Khyber Pass has loomed large in Central Asian history. Alexander the Great moved his troops through here.
Good, and rolling.
I'm here at the fabled Khyber Pass. I'm standing in Pakistan. Behind me in the valley below, Afghanistan. I mean, it's such a dramatic place. No, I don't want Afghan money. No, no, I don't want Afghan money. Poor kid.
1,000 Kabul bank picture, 1,000 Mazar Sharif.
Probably worth 20 cents.
50, 20, 10.
This is you are paying $4 in you. One boys give me Afghan money. I'm very why this give me 200 rupees and $4.
1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Thank you very much. You got it. But the reason I gave him 4, you know why I gave you 4? Because you helped me carry the tripod.
Yes.
That's why. Thank you.
On the other side of this pass, the people of Afghanistan. Was there ever popular support for bin Laden and what he stood for? And the American bombing campaign, liberation for ordinary Afghans? Or for them, just the latest phase in 20 years of unremitting war? We continued on to the Tora Bora Mountains. It struck me that Osama bin Laden, his family, and the Al-Qaeda fighters had fled along this same path. Our destination, the front line where American forces and the Northern Alliance were bombing the cave complexes of Tora Bora. That's the Tora Bora coast area where the action has been the last few days, yeah.
We're hidden in the trees.
Yeah, okay, I see it, yeah.
Yeah, that building is there.
That's where the Americans are. The challenge was to get near the caves. No journalist had yet been able to get near this front line. Could you walk down and see if we could come down? Ask them if we can visit? Or should we just walk?
Brother?
Tell them we'd like to come down and talk. We're American television. A Northern Alliance tank unit held this area. And after some negotiations through our translator, Jabbar, they reluctantly agreed to let us film. But they refused to comment on what was happening.
Yeah, right there. Okay, 1 second, Peter, and...
I'm standing in front of a Russian T-62 tank, probably captured from the Soviets during the 1980s war. This unit helped fight and win the Battle of Tora Bora with American assistance. The Americans have now left the region, but the Afghan allies remain there searching. Just where did bin Laden go? That's the $25 million question, the price put on his head, dead or alive, by the US government. Great, okay? An armed escort agreed to take us further, but only to a point 10 kilometers from the front line. We faced the frustration of all journalists covering Afghanistan. We just couldn't get to report on the fighting. We had to turn back. It's day 10. We are staying at the Spingar Hotel in Jalalabad. This is where Osama bin Laden's aides brought me in 1997 to wait for an interview. If Osama were to reach out for an interview again, here is where he'd find me. Much of significance in the war on terrorism took place in this city and in the area surrounding it, including Tora Bora. Media access to the Afghan war and its aftermath has been limited, but as hostilities wind down, we've negotiated permission to enter places normally off limits. This is an important Taliban military base that had been destroyed by American bombing a few weeks earlier, and no other journalist had been there. I really had no idea what we would find inside.
So we're standing there and...
Yeah. Hello. It was a major weapons collection area. There's no doubt about it. Clearly, the United States military planners were aware of this, and they had spent several days bombing and targeting the weaponry within that camp. Look at this tangled mess. The extent of the devastation was incredible to my eyes. Weapons and vehicles had been hit with a directness and with an explosive intensity that was just mind-boggling. I can't believe the way it threw them around. There were craters the size of two-story buildings. And these weapons of war, these large rocket trucks and artillery pieces and tanks, were just overturned as though a hurricane had knocked over trees. If you're wondering why the Taliban military forces didn't put up much of a fight, here is one of the reasons. I'm standing inside a huge crater caused by a bomb dropped by an American warplane. Thousands of such craters dot the Afghanistan countryside. This is one of several bombs that landed inside a Taliban military camp. This was a way to bring home to the viewer what this war meant and how it was won.
Andy's got it all.
Hey, if I'm gonna go, I want to go on camera, guys. A TV correspondent's epitaph. Yeah. Okay, let's split.
Okay,
thank you, gentlemen.
Now everybody can talk.
Show's over.
Thank
Where
you.
do all these people come from?
I don't know.
Excuse me. A great visit.
Yeah.
God.
Good job, Jabbar. Thank you.
The Taliban was born in the refugee camps that cover the country, the result of the Soviet-Afghan War. It's almost ironic that Osama bin Laden and the Taliban left Afghanistan in such desperate poverty that the camps are fuller than ever. There are angry, dispossessed people here at the Shashai refugee camp. Just a few weeks ago, they were stoning any journalists that approached them. Now they are calmer, hoping for help. Let's go. Let's move in. I'll do it to camera in the middle of the tents here, while the light is still good. Some of these families have been living in these tents for years. Others arrived more recently.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Some of the families have been living in these tents for 2 years or more. Others arrived more recently. They've escaped the destruction of the war. They've escaped starvation. All of these families want to go back to their home villages. That may take much longer. Could you ask him what happened to his village and the number of casualties? Amir Gold Dowd says his little village of Namyunez near Kabul was bombed in mid-November. He says only 11 of the 81 homes were left standing, and that he and the other survivors buried the victims with their bare hands.
Thank all the relevant people here.
Yeah, thank everyone. That was great. We're entertainment for the day. Good interview.
Oh, yeah.
You heard what he said.
Yeah.
He said his village was bombed, U.S. planes.
How did you feel about it?
He was not happy. He said the initial bombing was fine, but when they started bombing the people,
yeah,
it was not. He said 150 dead, and many went to hospital, and they don't know what happened to them. I see no reason why he lied. He said, we buried him with our own hands. Would you take that as a credible witness?
Yeah.
20 years of oppression and war caused these villages to lose all they had. But with Osama bin Laden and the Taliban on the run, there is a chance to rebuild. Once the bombing stopped, that is. It's day 12 and we're moving on. Osama bin Laden is not to be found in this area. I've decided to retrace the route I took last time I spoke to him. I interviewed bin Laden in March of 1997. I flew in from London with 2 of his Al-Qaeda aides. We stayed at this hotel in Jalalabad for 6 days until I got the word that the interview was on. His aides blindfolded me, bundled me into a car, and we took the road to Kabul.
bringing along a small child.
Yeah. He's the owner of this car. He's the owner of this car.
Really? How long have you had the car?
The motor is still not here. 8 months.
8 months.
We headed out on our journey to Kabul, with US bombs still falling on distant peaks. Much of this 100-mile route is a no man's land of rocky ravines and potholed tracks. Much of it is unpoliced by the authorities. Local traffic is often stopped by bandits for payoffs. For foreign travelers, the price can be much higher. The road to Kabul is one of the most dangerous stretches of highway in the world. People have died on this road, including several journalists. To travel, you have to hire your own security from the local militia forces. We have done that.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Oh, hey, on the way, guys. On the way to Kabul. You see, they make tough people here. You're not tough, you die. Look, we trust in God. Comfortable travel. We trust in God is a motto to take to heart. Angry Taliban and lawless bandits rule this stretch of highway, taking advantage of confusion over government control. See, this is sort of typical, right? A guy with a gun here.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? Yeah. If you don't have security, he could stop you and rob you, right? But this is it, look. They could be easily taken down here. See? Okay. So they stopped at a checkpoint and then they were taken out and killed, huh? This was pretending to be a checkpoint here. Clearly. The rocky, remote nature of the road at this point make it particularly dangerous. Earlier in the war, 4 journalists were dragged from their car and shot at this point. These were reporters who were no strangers to dangerous assignments. It could have been any one of us. Locals complain that since the Taliban was driven out, the area has descended into chaos.
Yeah, when the security leaves, I get in the car. Okay, good.
Okay, guys. Osama bin Laden emerged out of the chaos of the collapse of Soviet rule here, a Mujahideen leader who aided the relentless guerrilla operations that brought the Russian army to its knees. So it would not be surprising to find support for him. Maybe you can get a few shots around here, guys. We should stop.
Okay.
I can't talk long because they want to save the battery for this journey, so I'll call you when I get to Kabul.
Hey, Chip, did you get through?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
2 minutes and 36 seconds.
I'm glad you hit it on the head.
All these people staring at me. It's just the weirdest thing. You turn around and there's like 10 people staring. Do you speak English?
Yes, I can speak.
Huh? You speak English? How are you?
Fine, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey.
This guy recognizes you.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
I saw and CNN in Bosnia, Herzegovina.
Thank you. You're right.
Yes.
CNN in Bosnia. You're right.
Yes.
Nice meeting you.
And I too. You too.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye.
Let's go. Let's go.
Straight as in.
Everyone okay. And away we go.
Away we go.
Can we stop here? Come on, let's just stop. We traveled most of the day, stopping for breaks when necessary. Locals were mostly friendly, but war and drought have led to poverty and food shortages. As journalists, it's difficult because there's not much you can do to help for the moment.
Now they start fighting over it. See, that's what happens. I'll mark this later.
No, little girl, no. Little girl, there you go.
Gotta go to the pretty girl.
That's it, nothing left but MREs, and you don't know how to eat those.
No, boss.
No, that's it. No more.
Nothing ahead. How far are we from Kabul? Is this like the outskirts? Are we in the suburbs?
Well, we're in the suburbs still. I think it'll come up pretty soon. I just don't remember where the city is. But we're moving along at a good clip. So. After 12 hours, we arrived in Kabul, Afghanistan's capital city. Recently liberated from the Taliban, but not yet completely free. Damn it. No nightlife. Chip, no nightlife. God, gotta be in by 10. What a pity.
Where did you go, mister?
Mustafa Hotel.
The Mustafa Hotel is where some journalists stay. Thank you. Where do you go, mister? This is it, I guess. Here it is, guys. Okay.
Hi.
Okay. How are you? How are you? A welcome port for journalists, the Mustafa Hotel is what passes for luxury in today's Kabul. A bed for the night, hot food, and security enough. Osama bin Laden had ultimate control of Kabul the last time I was here. Now he's on the run, hiding out in a mountain cave. Interviewing him now would be far more dangerous than in 1997, now that he's got a US bounty on his head, but it's an interview I'm anxious to land. And certainly he knows I'm here, his network is still in place. For now, it's time to get some rest. Tomorrow, a look at what is left of this newly liberated city. This is liberated Kabul, a city bombed back to the Middle Ages. It's now day 13 of our journey.
I got my message machine.
And while we have our satellite phones to check in with the office and home, locally, Osama bin Laden and the Taliban destroyed the telecommunications. We're going to have to find the stories as we go along. Our first stop, Kabul's marketplace. I'm struck by the fact that women are still wearing burqas. It's an insurance against the unknown. They're not really sure if Osama and the Taliban are gone for good. Qurans. I like the way they wrap them up in leather. Very personal document, the Quran. This is for carrying in one's hip pocket. Let's see this one here. Ah, this is an Arabic one. Maybe Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, huh?
Arabic. No Al-Qaeda.
Maybe Al-Qaeda, huh?
No Al-Qaeda.
Maybe bin Laden.
No bin Laden.
Ah, there we are. Look at this. Very pretty.
That's Islamic books.
Thank you. Okay, guys. We got a tip there was artillery activity on the outskirts of the city. We headed out. The area, still reeling from battle, remained dangerous. And along the roads, a step off the asphalt, deadly mines. Can you take over, Chris? Determine the safety of all this and recommend where Chip can shoot. These Afghan soldiers were working with a volunteer agency, searching for and neutralizing hundreds of lethal mines buried along this road by the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. Okay, just stay on the roadside. This is not being cleared. The work here was obviously very dangerous, but the road was busy with both car traffic and Afghan citizens on foot. It was nerve-wracking. Down through my jacket. Okay. Both sides mind the road. You should move it. Both sides mind the road, okay? This is the Kabul front line. It stood for 5 years. The Taliban front line is behind me, the Northern Alliance 500 meters away. Both sides mind the road. The Taliban tank behind me was blown up on a roadside mine when it moved into the attack.
Easy. What they're saying is that 2 dogs thought there was a mine there, right?
Well, if dog checks it,
and
And then the second one confirms it. They've detected a mine or something back here. Be really careful, guys. They've found one here. You can walk over to where Jabbar is. This is a probably artillery shell put on top of a mine to enhance the explosion.
I see.
Okay, can we get photos of them putting the explosives in? Okay, there we go. As the skilled professionals work, we are all keenly aware that this is a deadly occupation. One wrong move, and these suits will be little protection from weapons built with one purpose: to maim and kill indiscriminately. Okay, guys, let's go. So this was the artillery action we were told about. But for once, these explosions will truly help the people of Afghanistan reclaim their land. It was a great shot, Chris. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that amazing? How the hell they balanced that? And I think the Taliban destroyed all the irrigation too, didn't they? They destroyed all the irrigation channels, and see all the vines, and these were villages that were closed down by the Taliban. We'll shoot as much as we can here. And while there was recent damage from the battle between Osama's fighters and the Allied forces, there was also older destruction. Whole villages leveled because they didn't obey. They didn't give in. Let's go in. Can we go in a bit? Around me here, an example of Taliban justice. The villages of Sarakoza were not enthusiastic supporters of the Taliban. So to teach them a lesson, the Taliban bulldozed down the village, destroyed the fields and the crops, and forced the villagers to flee.
That'll work.
What do you think?
Yeah.
You want to go down and get that? We can do the stand up and follow them up. Okay, we'll chase them. Okay, they're not going very far.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do the stand up now. We'll find them. You got audio yet?
No.
That's okay.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with this thing. No, I know why.
Okay, thank God.
I got the wrong transmitter. I got to go back to the car.
Okay.
Error message. The tape is doing something weird.
The tape is now.
Yeah. Okay, Peter, let's give it a whirl.
Okay. The people here were not enthusiastic Taliban supporters, so to teach them a lesson, the Taliban sent out bulldozers, destroyed the village, the offices and the homes. Just pick up a few. It was evident that Osama bin Laden was nowhere near Kabul. As his presence faded, so slowly did the dark cloud of oppression. They're resettling the valley. Driving by, we found this uplifting sight. These refugees are back to reclaim their home and rebuild their lives. So what do they need now? What are their needs today?
Nothing is left.
Why don't we go and get in the tent? Let's get out of here.
Hello.
We finally found the Afghan winter. It's taken 10 days, but it's here.
It's finally hailing.
What's the story here, Jabbar? Have they just come back?
Yeah, they're from the Panjshir Valley. They fled 3 years ago to the Panjshir Valley to the north because the Taliban, they said, were raping their women and shooting their young men. So they took off. They've been back a week. There's 100 families moved back to this area. This is their original homeland, they said. Yeah, and this is his original house.
Oh, great.
So they're pretty happy.
Good to be back.
I hope Chip's all right in there.
Where is he?
He went inside.
Well, he's already been bitten by the dog.
Oh, he was bitten by the dog? First casualty on the trip.
Oh, it's
Dog bite. Look at that little kid. He looks like a clown. A natural star. A natural star. Osama's fighters and the Taliban looted and burned out their home. Now Saeed Rahman and the whole family are joining in the rebuilding effort. They have come back with their heads held high. I have my thing, right?
Yeah.
This gentleman, could we interview him here?
Is that okay?
And you could stand here. Where do you want him to stand? Is that okay on that side?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Can you tell us the circumstances about how why he left home 3 years ago? Tell us why he left home.
He's saying that Taliban were killing our sons and children, small babies, and were raping our our women. And he said that I escaped with some of the women and with my son, one son, and to Panjshir 3 years ago.
Okay, thank him very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to have dinner, have lunch with them?
Thank you very much. But these are people who are out of food, but they want to feed us. I mean, that's truly generosity. We have our MREs, so we're okay. Okay then, guys, what do you think? Should we make a dash for the car? Bye.
Went out thinking it was going to be sunny all day.
Are you kidding?
Going to have the rain cover.
Nothing.
You never know when that harsh Afghan winter's going to rear its ugly head.
It did finally. Day 14. We're still in the city of Kabul at the Mustafa Hotel. It's raining. Osama bin Laden was willing to see these people suffer, and they still do. Unemployment, poverty and slums still imprison those who live here. Today's rain makes it even worse.
My son's talking to his girlfriend on the other line. And it's supposed to ring, he's not picking it up. Well, you don't hear from Daddy today then. Okay, I'll try later.
And there are lots of people living here, and they refuse to go back to their villages, even if those villages are rebuilt, because they claim the Taliban is still out there. So we want to go in and talk to them.
The embassy complex.
Yeah, this is it. Let's park here. And Jabbar, go out and talk to them.
You can take pictures.
Okay, let's go. Thank you. Thank you, Jabbar. The people of Sarakoza village who survived the Taliban have taken refuge in the old Soviet Union embassy in Kabul. Their plight made worse this day by a cold rain. Several thousand families live in the most squalid of surroundings, their lives now broken by poverty and war. The people here claim to have been abandoned by international aid agencies. The truth more likely to be that they are at the very end of a long, vulnerable supply chain. But that doesn't make life easier for the unemployed adults and the young people who have little to do but take turns on riding a child's roundabout in a dilapidated playground. The desperate circumstance got to all of us, but these situations can become very dangerous, very quickly, and a good intention can end badly. Chip, put your money away. Don't do it, okay? Don't do it. Don't want a riot here. Chip, 1,000 will make no difference. We're here as a news team, not as an NGO, okay?
I won't.
Well, don't.
I won't.
We're not a fucking NGO.
I won't do it anymore.
And if you give anything, give some real money, not 3 cents, okay?
Okay.
While some women, still afraid of Osama bin Laden and the Taliban, continue to wear burqas, increasingly they are emerging. And even now, in a bigger defiance, they're teaching and going to school. This was an offense punishable by death. Let's go across out of the rain. And were they allowed to teach? Were they teaching the boys? No, they weren't allowed to teach even. Oh, here we are. Look at this wonderful picture. I know Osama would hate seeing these girls returning to school, and this is a sign that he's truly gone. It's exciting. What does she want to be? What does she want her education to do for her? Is it possible in the education system in Kabul today to become a doctor? Ask her. Okay, who cares? For the past 5 years, the Taliban authorities denied these girls and hundreds of thousands like them an education. But now these girls are back at school, enjoying the classes and the opportunities that education, they hope, will bring them. Is this the same hospital? Where did Osama bin Laden go? While there are positive signs that he's gone, like women returning to school and the workplace, we also run into suspicion and resistance in telling the story of what's happening here. It's a woman's hut. The men are outside waiting for their women, I guess. Osama and top-level Taliban exclusively had access to the local hospital. And as we approached with our camera, we were immediately sent away. But today, with permission from the interim government, we're back. So, ma'am, are you the administrator?
Yes, I'm the director of the hospital.
I'm Peter Arnett. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Understand.
This is my self-rules.
Finally, a meeting with the director of the hospital, a woman. Although the old fears aren't as easy to set aside.
Since this is the rule of the government.
Let me talk. There's an interim government, okay? There are no rules. The Taliban, let me tell you, the Taliban government did not like pictures. The Taliban government is gone.
Yes, I know.
The interim government wants publicity.
Yes.
They want money from America and from Europe.
Yes.
You will not get money if you will not allow reporters to report what you're doing. Our first real resistance in what should have been an easy story to tell. But it is important to remember that we're just passing through. The director lives here, and under the Taliban, she would have been punished severely for allowing us to report this story.
Yes, thank you. Yes, sorry, because for me there is no problem. I meet many journalists, no problem for me privately. But since I'm the director of the hospital, I should accept all the rules. Yes?
I know.
Yes. Now you can introduce yourself for me, sorry.
I am Peter Arnett, a correspondent. Dr. Rahima Stanetsi has her hands full. The sick come for treatment, but salaries have not been paid and there are very few resources. But they do all they can. The wards were full of the people who really need the care. Ordinary Afghan women and children. Again, another sign that Osama and the Taliban ran a heartless regime. And it was the people who paid the price. Okay, guys. It's a wrap. Oh, yeah, the microphone.
Could you stay with us?
Okay. Look, I want to thank you for your cooperation. Thank you.
I have to go back to the hotel before we go to the
We're not going to the embassy. No, the U.S. does a great job in giving food aid.
Yeah.
But here, we're talking about salaries that haven't been paid in 6 months and all the rest of it. I mean, you know, President Bush said, we're going to rebuild this country and make it safe for the world. They don't need bulgur wheat, they need cash to buy their own kind of food.
I just wonder where all the Muslim countries are.
Listen, Chip.
You know,
the U.S.
my
listen, Chip.
Yeah.
The U.S. said it's not a matter of Bush didn't say we want the Muslims to give money. They said we'll do it. Okay. It's not a question of where the other Muslim countries are or not. The U.S. said it would do it. Right?
I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear the president say that? Well, here every time he speaks, he says it.
I mean, the U.S. was going to single-handedly rebuild Afghanistan? I didn't hear that.
He didn't say single-handedly, okay? He said, we will rebuild. We will not let this happen again. The U.S. spent about $100 billion to beat the Soviets, okay? It financed binLaden and all the extremists, and then it left for 10 years. Why do you think terrorism happened here? Where do you think it happened? I covered that war, Chip. I met the extremists. I met binLaden 4 years ago. Did the U.S. do anything? No, they did it when the World Trade Center and the Pentagon got attacked. The fact that Afghanistan was going down the tubes and women were being ill-treated and people were getting their limbs amputated didn't rate in the U.S. The U.S. government is the world's greatest power. When it gets mad, it can do anything it wants. But it didn't do anything until the World Trade Center and the Pentagon got zapped.
It is on. It is on.
Yeah, it's on. This is where they had the amputations. So this is a point to make, okay?
Yep.
In the story. At the center of Kabul's daily life, the Olympic Stadium. For 5 long years, the Taliban's ground zero of terror, the site of executions, mutilations, calculated cruelty and evil, with one goal, to retain an iron grip on power. Wonderful. This is exciting.
Are you okay?
Very happy.
Very happy?
Beautiful day,
yes.
Beautiful horses. I want to see the game, yes.
Yeah, you haven't seen it, this game in your life?
No, first time.
I think this is very funny for you. Yeah,
I think so.
Funny.
And very funny for you too.
Yeah, also it is my first time that I see
No, no.
No, sir, really. It's my first time that I see this game.
Now, this was the stadium they had executions and amputations, right?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Did the Taliban cut off hands here?
Yes, I saw this several times.
You did?
At the end, I saw that they cut the hand of a person by robbing, and that hand was cut. That was shaking. It was very dangerous.
That is frightening.
It was very dangerous.
That is frightening.
Yes.
Well, it's been nice to talk to you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Okay, see you later. Okay, bye. He said they cut off the hand and it was still shaking when it fell to the ground. Oh man.
I saw the goat come in.
Oh, you saw it come in?
Yeah.
Alive or dead
Oh,
one?
it's dead on the back of a bicycle.
That's funny. The game is buskashi, or goat grabbing, where riders risk all to win the game. Yeah, sure, okay, here we go. The object is to successfully carry the carcass of a goat up and down the field to score points against the opposing team. You can get killed here. I'm glad the goat's dead.
Yeah, tell me about it.
He did it. See, he dropped it. He dropped it off. That was good. Day 15. We've seen so much destruction that I knew we hadn't seen the worst of it. A day's travel to the west lay the Baymian Valley. Osama bin Laden was a ruthless leader who knew the effect of blowing up historic icons. Before the World Trade Center attack, the Taliban blew up 2 large Buddha statues carved out of a mountainside. It was a warning to all the people. The way of the Taliban is the only way. Glass in the windows. That's an unusual sight. Houses with glass in the windows. The trip to Baymian was exhausting and lengthy because it took us into the mountains. This is dangerous. Let's look. We could probably walk behind the vehicle here. and we drove into the Hindu Kush, over an ancient road that had no repairs we could see over the previous 2 decades. It was 10.5 hours of hard driving over the most difficult of roads. Anyone else for a Tylenol? Oh, there we go, guys. The Hindu Kush. That's a smart way. Let's go, buddy. Yeah, we did it. We did it. We arrived around dusk. First to the caves. You see these indentations? They look like man-made caves. I guess we're in the Baymian area. I see people in some of those caves. You see people there?
I can't see them.
Yeah, they're standing there. We had to find shelter for the evening, and the town was just ahead. So we didn't have time to stop to look at the destruction. You can almost imagine it being there. Total assholes. Just blowing it away. Blowing it away. Guess this is Baymian Town Central.
Yep, Main Street, Baymian.
There were no hotels left in the town. Well, wherever we land, I'm going to eat some MREs, crawl into my sleeping bag and sleep. But we did find a non-governmental charity organization called Solidarity. They had a place for us to sleep for the night. Television crew from
But unfortunately, we are not having television.
No, but we want power for the television crew. We make television.
Okay.
He thought we wanted to look at television. The charity organizations are very sensitive about the use of weapons and were most concerned about having weapons in their compound.
No weapons inside our compounds. Our weapons or your weapons is the same.
Can you lock it in the car, in the vehicle?
Because
we
cannot get him back.
You take the gun, you give me the magazine, and you keep the gun inside the car close, okay? Okay. Yeah. No more magazine?
It was like the Wild West. We had to check our guns, but we also had to check our boots. They were concerned about the carpets. Our accommodations for the night weren't much. In fact, it was the dining room. But there were furnaces in the room, and it got us through the night.
So yeah, they were really good to us. I mean, without them, I think we would have been hunkering down in the woods somewhere. Okay, so we're just heading out for some breakfast and start filming. It's a beautiful day here, very cold, but it's bright sunshine, blue sky.
Day 16 dawns sunny but cold. By morning, drivers have a major problem in getting their cars started. Everything is iced up, and what they do is just literally build fires under these vehicles and heat them up. I was convinced we'd start hearing explosions, but they had the technique down, and within 20 minutes or so, these vehicles were mobile and ready to go.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Where is your Kalashnikov man? Because he left me the magazine.
He's got his gun here and his magazines with you. Our security man has his gun, but forgot his ammo at the compound. Dangerous because once you have a gun, you may be called upon to use it. come back for a trip like this, I never complain about McDonald's. At least not for a week. The first look at the cliffs was shocking. The Buddhas were a world treasure, thoughtlessly blown away by fanatics on a power trip. See, there's no guarantee we can get closer, you know what I mean?
No, it's gorgeous with all those little
The light is perfect,
holes.
the light's going to change soon.
Yeah, it's a great wide shot, you're right.
So to arrive in Baymian and find just gaping holes in the cliffside where the Buddhas once were was personally very unsettling. This is a poor country, and the Buddhas were of historic significance, a treasure in a land of harshness. Piece of an artillery shell, huh? They planted explosives and then fired artillery. So this is surely one that bounced off the wall. These are pieces. The local people really felt the loss. These are descendants of Genghis Khan, who came in the 12th century. They personally were brutalized by the Taliban because they stubbornly refused to renounce their own beliefs and live by Taliban rule. Nice little workout. We've been so sedentary. Hello. Hi. If I ever get the chance to interview Osama again, I'd have to ask him about how destroying these Buddhas served any purpose. Their villages destroyed, they moved into the caves of their ancestors. They had absolutely nothing. There were no beds. They were sort of crude fireplaces on the cliffside. No facilities, no running water. They were simply basic accommodations, basic as you could ever have. These are some of the Hazara people put to flight by the Taliban. They're forced to live in cave dwellings, first used 2,000 years ago. Most of their menfolk were killed by the Taliban. Almost all of the region's population fled Taliban rule and returned only in recent months to the Bamiyan Valley, located 110 miles from Kabul in the center of Afghanistan. The scenes at Cliffside could come from biblical times, so basic are the conditions. They're so cute. How you doing? Look at the big smiles. The Taliban destroyed these great Buddhist monuments in an attempt to wipe out the cultural history of Bamiyan and the people who lived there. But in fact, by doing so, they've left a lasting monument to the repression that a totalitarian regime like the Taliban can inflict on a population. Documenting the destruction of the Baymian Buddhas, I felt like the ghost of Osama was in the air. This destruction was a permanent symbol of his ruthless rule. We set out, determined to get as close to him as we could. This guy knows how to take chances. He closes his eyes every time he does it. I've seen it. That's the technique. On day 18, as we head back to Jalalabad, we pass through the tribal areas surrounding this pass that have for years had a problem with gun smuggling and dope peddling. Some of Osama bin Laden's retreating al-Qaeda soldiers have been known to be hiding in these mountains. Some believe bin Laden himself is there.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is try and get this guy to put his safety catch on. Put your safety on, mate. That guy's like 12 and started shaving here. My security guy. He's walking around with his safety catch off. No weapons training, I don't think.
But our teenage armed guard did know a secret and led us 15 kilometers outside of town to Osama bin Laden's compound and training camp. I interviewed Osama bin Laden in March of 1997. At that time, bin Laden's aides said he was living in a tent city with his wives and family in the countryside on the outskirts of Jalalabad. They told me he was building a more permanent home further afield. We've searched in the hills of Tora Bora, the city of Kabul, the Bamiyan caves and Jalalabad. His ghosts were everywhere, but the trail was cold. U.S. media was reporting him dead, a probable victim of the cave-busting bombs used in Tora Bora. But here we discovered where Osama bin Laden had moved himself, his family, and his al-Qaeda fighters.
Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden.
This was the place. Just getting a sense of how this enemy of the U.S., this terrorist organization, lived and functioned. This was the opportunity. Because this is near Jalalabad. It's access, you know, to Pakistan. It's bin Laden lived here. He has a big compound for Al-Qaeda. I bet in their interrogation they'll talk about this place.
Okay.
Shoot as much as you can first, then at the end we'll do a little to camera, okay? Pretty Spartan existence, huh?
Find my way back. You hear me yelling.
Okay, we know. We'll come get you. The size of this compound was extraordinary. Almost 2 city blocks. I want to see the room where he had his television and watched Larry King live every night. This mud wall compound was constructed for bin Laden's Al-Qaeda forces. Arab fighters from more than 20 countries lived here. They stayed apart from local villages, and they were trained to help defend the nearby cave complex at Tora Bora.
I've got all my shots already in there.
It's good to know that even the Taliban look after their skin.
Osama bin Laden worked in complete complicity with the Taliban. He could not have built this installation, could not have had the hundreds of people living here without the Taliban well knowing what he was doing. So if ever there was evidence needed that he was part of the Taliban infrastructure, there it was. Now look at this. The oven, make bread. In this house, Osama bin Laden planned and plotted his worldwide schemes. And if you listen carefully, his presence still seems to be here. Probably had a table here. I mean, this must look pretty good before it was looted. We're standing in the same room that once held Osama bin Laden. Just weeks ago he was here, but now he's long gone. It's been 20 days, and we've seen the ghost of his presence, but little more. After 20 years of destruction, the people are hopeful once again. International aid is promised. A new Afghanistan will rise from the rubble. But walking in the footsteps of Osama bin Laden, I suspect that he's not gone for good. He's spent so much time living in the shadows, his network is so vast, he could be hiding anywhere in the world. There is optimism, but this is a country that has seen false promises before. Will the US aid come? Will the Taliban resurface? And will Osama bin Laden return or remain the world's most wanted man?
Allah